falling forward is a principle that I found in my journey to be one that was very difficult, but one that changed the course of my personal and my leadership journey. So the weekend, this was the weekend that my husband passed away. My daughter was in college. She had returned for Labor Day weekend, long weekend. She had come back with an urgency in her soul that she needed to go see Grandma, my husband's mom, and that she needed to convince us that we needed to get in the truck and we needed to drive to Nebraska and we needed to see Grandma because she was not going to be around at Christmas time. Well, it took a lot of conversation and convincing, but she did get David to agree to get in the truck, drive to Nebraska, go see his mom. So they took off, and it's a 9-hour drive to Nebraska, middle of Nebraska, farm country. And in that process, they drove 9 hours, they got to town, they picked up Grandma, they took Grandma to dinner, they brought Grandma back to her living facility, they spent the night, and the next morning, they got back in the truck and made that long trip home. But that was when his back started hurting. That was when he was very uncomfortable. And what normally is a 9-hour trip took more than 12 hours for them to complete. He was not comfortable, he couldn't sit still, and so they had to take frequent stops. So he got home and he wasn't feeling well, and we all decided that we'd get up the next morning and see how he was feeling. But the next morning he wasn't feeling any better. But my daughter was heading back to college, and I was heading into work. She had a hair appointment, I had a big meeting. So after she got finished with her appointment, she came back to home, and she searched for him, and she could not find him. She knew that something was amiss, but she just couldn't find where he was. And finally, she walked into his office, and she found that he had fallen over in his office chair, and he had died from a sudden and fatal heart attack. From that moment on, in that instant, everything was different. From that moment on, in that instant, everything was sad. And from that moment on, the future was absolutely not something we ever wanted it to be.